My mum is probably going to kill me if she watches this vlog because bed's a little bit of a mess, my room's a bit of a mess. We're all a mess. It's these times. And also the light is streaming into my room, so I've had to put the blinds down because otherwise it's like this. Which is just not what you want. But I am back here today to start the reading vlog in which we cover Les Miserables, Part 2, Cosette, books 5 to 8. And I have a fear that this one's going to be quite a short one because last night and this morning I read through books 5, 6 and 7, so I only have book 8 left to do. That being said, book 8 is about 40 pages, so you know, that'll take me a little bit of time tomorrow probably. But in these 3 books of Les Mis, we see Jean Valjean and Cosette running away from the police, with Valjean trying to find somewhere to hide. He eventually finds a way of not being detected by going over a wall, jumps down into the garden, and it turns out that he has stepped into a convent. He is then aided by the gardener there, who turns out to be Fauchelevent, who is the man that he saved from the runaway car. We are then treated, and I say treated in air quotes very much, to a little bit of history about the convent. And also Victor Hugo kind of debating backwards and forwards whether convents and monasteries are actual moral things that should exist, and whether these institutions actually have anything to contribute to society when they are so cloistered. This question of whether or not they are actually doing good work within their isolation, whether it is work at all. And as I think I mentioned last week, this has been another one of the sections within part 2 that people have been really struggling with, and I would say struggling with more than the Battle of Waterloo section. And I have to say, yeah, so far in this reread of Les Mis, this particular digression on the convents is probably my least favourite part. I feel like I got out of rereading the Battle of Waterloo feeling like I had a bit more of a sense of what Victor Hugo was trying to accomplish, that I was able to kind of read around those sections and kind of like dig out a bit of like hidden meaning, but I just didn't feel like I could quite do that with this, aside from coming out of it feeling very much like, oh wow, I would not want to live there. I'm gonna put this down now, it's heavy. I feel like the main takeaway that you're getting from reading this section is really to kind of impress upon you how hard it's going to be for Jean Valjean to kind of plead his case, how there is almost no certainty that he is actually going to be allowed to stay there, that there might be hope maybe for Cosette to stay there because there is a school attached to the convent, but that men are not meant to enter this convent. The only men who ever enter the convent is either the gardener or the archbishop and nobody else. There was a really nice section though towards the end which was talking about the importance and the work that goes behind a contemplative life, the actual work that does go into spending a great deal of your time in a thinking state, and that is just as important as spending your time like physically doing things. We criticise the church when it is riddled with intrigue, we despise the spiritual in its attachment to the temporal, but everywhere we honour the thinking man. We hail whoever kneels. A faith this is indispensable to man. Woe to anyone who believes nothing. To be lost in thought is not to be idle. There is visible work and invisible work. To contemplate is to toil, to think is to do. Folded arms are busy, joined hands are active. Gazing heavenward is industrious. And I think we probably find that true whether or not you are religious or spiritual. You know, to spend a great deal of your time in a thinking state, it does take a lot out of you, and it is work, just a different kind of work. But no, I think what I found the most interesting in this was actually book 5, which is the section in which Jean Valjean is trying to find a place to hide. We're treated to a little bit of a tour of Paris, and particularly at the beginning, Victor Hugo lamenting how Paris is not what it used to be and he can't recognise any street anymore. I know particularly last week I was talking a lot about how Cosette particularly is compared to birds. There's a lot of bird imagery when it comes to Cosette, and here there were just so many allusions to animals and particularly to the hunt, which I know is quite an obvious comparison to be making, Javert being the hunter and Valjean and Cosette being the hunted, but I just kind of loved it. Like the wild animal chased from its lair, he was seeking a place to hide until he found a place where he could settle. When he does end up scaling the wall and dropping a rope down for Cosette, he actually makes a swallow net, which in the note section Christine Donahue notes that maybe he got the translation wrong and what he was actually wanting to say was a lark's head knot. Maybe that's what he was actually thinking about, which links back to Cosette. But we get even more animal imagery when we revert to looking at Javert's perspective. He had stopped thinking about Jean Valjean. For dogs that hunt all the time, today's fox drives yesterday's fox out of mind. Talking of Thénardier, he says, the last thing owls want is to have a light shone on them. And then when Javert thinks that he's cornered Valjean and then can't find him because he's crossed over the wall, Hugo writes, when he reached the centre of his web, he found the fly was gone. Obviously, Javert is the spider and Jean Valjean is the fly who keeps on disappearing, who keeps flying away. And I really enjoyed it. I think the only thing that I didn't love in this section is that in order to keep Cosette quiet, Valjean tells Cosette that the person that they're actually running away from is Madame Thénardier. Father, she whispered, I'm scared. Who is it that's coming this way? Hush, replied the poor man. It's Madame Thénardier. Cosette shuddered. He added, keep quiet, leave it to me. If you call out, if you cry, that Thénardier woman's ready to pounce. she'll come to take you back. And it's one of those things where I'm like, I completely understand why he does that, but it is hella manipulative. But then again, I've never had to keep an 8-year-old quiet, so what do I know? So yeah, now all I've got to read for this little weekly vlog is book 8, and it feels a bit weird, to be honest. And I'm not quite sure what I'm gonna do, because I feel like this is gonna be quite a short reading vlog, unless I like ramble on and on about book 8, which is quite likely. I don't really want to put anything about part 3 into this week's reading vlog, but I'm not sure. You'll see what I do anyway. But until then, I thought, you know, just off of Les Mis related stuff, I'd show you a couple of things that I bought from Journey Clothing recently, because I couldn't resist. So what I'm wearing right now is this little Pride and Prejudice jumper. It still has the tag on because I'm just trying it on now, but I love it. Probably doesn't quite show the colour, but it's like a proper greeny dark forest green, and I love it. So definitely you'll be seeing this in a video soon. And then there is also this t-shirt, the light blue thing. I'm not a big t-shirt wearer, but I quite like it. You know, I had to try it, see for myself if I liked it. And I've recently noticed that they have launched like a Broadway New York based collection. So, you know, just Journey Clothing out to steal all my money. Hello. So I am coming back into this vlog a little bit later than anticipated. In fact, it's been more than a week since I last updated you on my progress with Les Mis, because I've had a few little life changes, life updates, life upheavals, whatever you want to call it. Nothing serious, thankfully, but it has kind of derailed my reading of Les Mis the past week or so, which I guess is why it's kind of good that we made it a 3-month read along rather than like 1 month or 2 months, because you do have like a little bit of a grace period between books. So even though I hadn't really read much of Les Mis in the past week, when I did finally come back to it yesterday and finished off book 2, Cosette, it was really nice. It was really nice to be back in this story. So in this final book, Jean Valjean and Fauchelevent come up with a plan to kind of sneak Jean Valjean and Cosette out in order to officially bring him back into the convent to serve as like a second gardener, with Jean Valjean posing as Fauchelevent's brother. So there's a whole plan involving bringing Jean Valjean out in an old coffin, which almost goes horribly wrong, and Jean Valjean's almost buried alive, and you're like, oh god, no. But all goes to plan, all is fine, and then the mother ends up allowing Jean Valjean and Cosette to stay, which is noted is strongly due to the fact that they look at Cosette and decide that she is quite a plain child and that she'll grow up to be quite ugly, and that will mean that she's more likely to become a nun. And I was just like, alright, okay. Here once again we see Jean Valjean being given a new name. No longer Jean Valjean or Père Madeleine anymore, he is now Ultime or Ultime Fauchelevent. But even Victor Hugo notes that towards the end of the book the nuns don't even refer to him as that, they just call him the other Fauvent, because that's the name that they give to Fauchelevent, their original gardener. Another instance where Jean Valjean has his own name and people kind of disrespect it or disregard it and choose their own name for him, and how that can really work to you kind of becoming a non-entity. We see once again in this book how once Jean Valjean and Cosette get more comfortable within the convent, they're able to really flourish and thrive, which really drives home Victor Hugo's theme of, you know, you don't know what people are capable of until you give them love and give them like the amenities that they need. So many people don't get the opportunity to really thrive and show what they are capable of doing, but give Cosette education and a home and people who love her, and she's able to become a delightful, happy child. Give Jean Valjean a purpose and a home and make him feel secure, and he's able to like make the garden come to life and be beautiful. And that was only because people were willing to give him a chance. How many people do not get that opportunity and that chance? Though towards the end of the book there's a lot of comparison between the convent and the prisons, a little bit of a commentary of both these places as places of captivity and the differences between the two. Jean Valjean definitely seeing the differences between the two because he has a lot more freedoms and he's able to see the sky, but he only really has that perspective because he's seen what it's like to be in the prisons. For anybody else, being cooped up behind these 4 walls and never being able to go out would be horrible for them, but because he has the experience of working in the prisons and being reduced down to a number, not to a name, being brutalized, he has a different perspective. But is that going to be okay for Cosette or for anybody else? We'll have to see what happens. I feel like maybe this reading vlog hasn't been quite as satisfactory as it could have been, and not going into quite as much detail because there has been a bit of a time jump between last week and now. But I'd love to hear from you in the comments how you've been getting on with part 2. How far are you with your Les Mis read? I'd love to hear from you. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I look forward to talking to you again soon. Thanks.